Explosive Story Podcast. My name is Derek Christopher. Now, if you're a writer, producer, or director, having the talent and the creative ability to do those things is one thing. But just as important, maybe more important, is the ability to have a career, to understand how a career works, how it's put together, how you sustain it, how you get it in the industry. And my guest today is unbelievable in his ability and talent to tell you what you need to do as a creative to have a career and to succeed. He was a former agent at ICM. ICM, of course, one of the big four talent agencies, along with William Morris, CAA, and United. His feature film, Passionata, took 529 meetings to get done. 529 meetings across multiple countries. He's got a best-selling book called Beyond the Craft that sort of tells you a real-world mindset that you need to have to make it in the industry, to have a creative career. He's done almost 500 workshops around the world to studios, to major writers, major directors, major producers. And he's known for his no excuse mentality to get things done, to get past all of your personal issues that you may have, that you self-sabotage yourself, you procrastinate, whatever it might be. So please welcome to the show, Jim Jermanok. Jim, good to see you.
Great to be here. Thanks so much, Derek.
So, Jim, you're such an interesting guy. And I think that you are so direct, which I absolutely love. And first, I want to get into Passionata. 529 meetings. What was your first meeting like, and what was the 529th meeting like, and why did you have to do so many meetings?
It wasn't only about Passionata, all these meetings. Don't forget, I was
Yeah.
pitching a few projects or whatever. But, I quit ICM. I was making a great salary with a huge expense account with wonderful clients who loved me. And I quit to start at square one in the independent film world and to some extent the off-Broadway theater world. And I wanted to succeed. Otherwise, I made a moronic decision. And I didn't have any children and I traveled a lot. So wherever I was, whether it's New York, LA, New York, I was living in New York, but Toronto, Paris, Berlin, Istanbul, London, you name
Yeah.
it. I talked to film producers and financiers and just try to make things happen. And also in Boston. And that's where I met someone who ended up financing Passionata.
But why would you, what was it that triggered you wanting to give up? Because it seems like that would be an amazing life to be a top agent in the biggest talent agency in the world. You're hobnobbing with celebrities and writers and things like, why would you give that up?
You know, uh, in all modesty, I felt I conquered it. I felt I conquered it. I was there for
Wow. Okay.
years. I did it. I knew, and I didn't want to do the same thing. I looked at people, I was in my 30s, and I looked at people in their 60s and 70s still doing it. And I said, that's not me. I'm not going to be doing this. That's number one. Number two, I'm creative. I'm cursed with creative talents, all modesty aside,
Yeah.
meaning I can write a screenplay, a good one, and I can direct, and I can produce, and I can connect people. And I had the skills to be creative. I was creative before I was an actor and a stand-up comic, and I just missed being creative. And I had an unfortunate marital split up, and someone said, follow your dreams. And that's what I decided to do.
So what was the first thing you did when you left being an agent? Like, what was your first step into that different world?
I just talked to some friends. We ended up doing a film with Callista Flockhart and Stephen Fry. I don't even know if it's available, but I ended up co-writing it and producing it.
And then how do you know how not to step on your own toes, how to self-sabotage yourself? I mean, you obviously were very confident and you knew what you wanted to do, but I think a lot of people go into creative works feeling that way. What's the difference between people who actually succeed at taking that leap and people who don't?
I think first of all, it's confidence.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's fake it till you make it. Jumping into that dark abyss of not having experience and just jumping into it. And what's the worst that can happen? You get fired. So I was on the cruise before as an agent. I was on cruise for 3 or 4 years, film, TV, commercials, and I worked as a gaffer, almost fried myself. You got to just try things. You got to just
Yeah.
try things. And so I think it's about being willing to try things, not worrying about being proper. There's no proper way. There's no standard way. There's no formulaic way. Um, and just creating a network. I think that when I advise people, I tell them to really maximize your contacts and spend an hour or two each week networking. That means connecting with new people who are of a professional level, um, and just not be intimidated by anyone. We're all on the same planet at the same time. Don't be intimidated by people. It's all hype. It's all bullshit.
But also, I know. I mean, you've done, I think, 6 feature films, correct?
Yes.
So you've done 6 feature films. The one thing that I've seen, whether it's been at the Story Expo conferences or at McKee or wherever, is that I see a lot of creative people have one project they're working on. And it's one screenplay, or I want to direct one thing, and they're some often unrealistic about it. But then I'll see those people 10 years later, and they're still trying to work on the same screenplay. How
Yeah.
how big of a death sentence is that for a career in the industry?
Depends how great the script is. I mean, if they're getting feedback from people about how that script is doable, producible, ready to go, that's a great thing. But most of the time, they don't get that feedback. They
Yeah,
pretend to get feedback, but they're not getting that feedback from objective people who know what they're doing. In fact, I do one of the numerous hats I wear. I do script analysis for well-known producers and directors and others.
yeah.
I really give them a thorough critique how far they are from what it needs to be professionally. So it's in their benefit to have several projects, particularly maybe one in TV or one in film, several projects. Because when you're having meetings, particularly with people who are powerful and can actually do something for you, they may say, well, look, I already have a sci-fi. What else do you have?
Yeah.
And you're empty. You're empty hand. You might as well walk out of the office because you don't have enough. You don't have another thing to give them. That's a big mistake. Now, you don't have to be as crazy as I am. I'm involved in an active way in 4 quadrants: docs, features, in no particular order, fictional TV and non-fictional TV. So those are
Yeah.
4 different quadrants, often with different buyers. You don't have to do all 4 of them, but think about within 1 or 2 of those, picking a couple of things maybe in different genres.
Well, what is it that you're chasing? I mean, you're obviously chasing something that you love the game of it. Is there one particular goal that you have, or one particular thing that you'll say, like you did as an agent? You felt you conquered everything as an agent. What is it that you need to conquer now to move on to something else?
I just want to make high quality projects, a high
Yeah,
quality, and that's always been the case for me, and it brings economic highs and lows for sure. But I wanted to make great stuff, and I'm proud to say that all my projects, film and theater, have gotten good reviews.
yeah.
So
So
that was very intentional, and it's a sacrifice to do that. To not just make, the basic formulaic crap it is a sacrifice.
give me an idea of what Jim Germanic's day is like. What is the it's I don't mean I was gonna say what's the grind? For you, I don't sense it's a grind. What is the day that you go through that, well, like what time do you wake up, what time do you go to bed, and what do you do in between all that stuff?
Well, I used to live in New York full time. Now I'm
Yeah.
between New York and a very country setting in Maryland, believe it or not.
Yeah.
I moved here for love. I fell in love with someone who lives here. And so I'm up very early. I'm up at 6:30, and I'm at the office by 7:30, and I'm there until 6 or 6:30. I work very long hours. Um, yeah, I like to work here. And New York, I had a lot of distractions. It would take me, if I met somebody, I would go to my place to maybe another borough and meet them. I'd spend a half an hour in the subway or a cab. I'd meet them for an hour or two. It would take 3 or 4 hours out of my day. I don't have any distractions or diversions here.
Yeah.
I'm much more productive. It depends because I love both. I love the business of it. I love the creative aspects. So right now I just got a big screenwriting gig, excuse me, based on a book called Framed by Todd Volpe, a really wonderful book about an art dealer to the stars who ended up running into some trouble and how he redeemed himself. And
Yeah.
so I have a screenwriting gig right now. So I have to put time into that every day. And otherwise, I'm having phone calls and Zoom calls with various different partners for different productions.
Now, when you do a gig like that, how long will it take you to write the first draft of that screenplay?
Um, that's a good question. I think about 2 to 2.5 months.
Okay.
The
And then
first
during your the first draft, yeah. And then during a typical day, so if you're getting up at 6, you're finishing around 6, 7 o'clock. What percentage do you dedicate to craft, to like writing and developing, and what percentage do you put towards the business part of
Great
sort of
question. When I'm
yeah,
writing, right now I'm in the research mode, so I haven't started writing. What I'll
yeah,
do is then I'll eventually I'll come up with like 3 by 5 cards. I'm very old school. Put them against a bulletin board, reorder, reorder, revise, reorder, revise, and then I'll come up with a scene summary. And from that which has every slug, the moon sets over the barn, boom. Wife confronts husband about infidelity. Whatever the scene requires, I'll describe it briefly, even
yeah.
throw in sentences of dialogue so I won't forget them. And I'll come up with like a 25 to 35 page scene summary. From that, I'll then start writing, and that will take I'll maybe do 2 to 4 pages a day.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
And,
I'm very
and then
fast.
now
But
then
but
go ahead.
in fact, I make a lot of my living from doing rewrites in any genre because
Yeah.
I'm able to do them relatively quickly and just make it better, just improve. So it's a very good question because being everybody is different. And if
Yeah.
I had a gun to my head and I had to get something done in a week, a lot of famous screenwriters will talk about this. I'm not, I'm not really capable of doing that. I have done it, but generally speaking, you're at your creative best 3 or 4 hours a day, and
Yeah.
I don't spend more than 3 or 4 hours a day in my creative zone, and then I'll switch gears and do the next the next half of the day is business. Maybe I'll work on another small project creatively, but for the most part, it's business or emailing, that kind of thing.
Now, do you prioritize your projects? Like, are some projects more important to you than others, or do you pretty much give them all the same love?
If they're about to get financing or it's something really happening big time, I'll prioritize that, obviously.
Yeah.
If there's some deadline coming up or I have to prepare for a big financing meeting or something, that's priority. It's basically when I need to do things that I prioritize. But otherwise, they're all the same to me. I want them all to happen, even though they may be in different mediums, genres, and budget ranges.
Yeah. And then after you write your first draft, who do you go to see if it's good? Or who do you go to for feedback?
I go to my brother Stephen because we used to write together. He had
Uh,
good sense to leave the business, and now he's a famous travel advisor and writer.
yeah.
Um, and I go to a few other close friends who happen to be screenwriters. Yeah,
And then how many drafts do you usually do? Or does it really depend on the creative group you're working with, what they're wanting out of it?
it depends on deadlines and the group I'm working with, but for the most part, I'll write a draft, then maybe take a few days off, or a week off, just give me some
Yeah.
distance. The best editor is time. You give
Yeah.
yourself 3 months off or a year off. It's fantastic to see
Yeah.
exactly the problems. There's a project that I want to direct called The Why Factor. It's about a psychologist who's an expert at relationships, except when it comes to his own. And I keep on, it's been with me for a long time. I keep on rewriting it. It's a
Yeah.
romantic comedy, dark romantic comedy. Um, you can always find ways to improve it. But generally speaking, if I'm in a rush and there's a deadline, I'll give myself a few days and then jump back into it and do a second draft.
Now, do you ever have a
I'll
problem with
start
writer's
doing,
block?
then I'll start doing vacuums, meaning I don't know there must be a name for this in screenwriting jargon. I don't know it, but just focusing on one thing, like focusing on each character at a time, or focusing
Okay.
a setting or something like that to make sure it's consistent throughout the script.
Yeah. Do you ever have issues of writer's block? And how do you recommend that people deal with writer's block?
When you're under a deadline, you really can't afford to have writer's block. You have shitty days sometimes, and then the next day, I always go over what I've written the next day, and
Okay.
before I go on
Yeah.
quickly.
Yeah.
I haven't. I've dealt with a lot of problems in life in my career, but I never had a problem with writer's block, to be honest with you. I'm just so focused, getting things done. Sometimes it's not the best work, and I'll correct it. But that first draft, or what we call the vomit draft, just get it out.
Yeah.
In other words, I try not to be too self-critical. One of the problems I have had in the past is being too critical at the end of the process. Just, because you're used to the humor or you're used to the action or whatever, you're used to it because you've been writing it over and over again. And sometimes you can be too self-critical and kill darlings that don't mean to be killed.
Yeah. So in your book, tell people what the biggest benefit they will get out of Beyond the Craft is. I mean, I know the book has gone into multiple printings and whatnot, but if I went to somebody and I said you have to read this book, Beyond the Craft, what is it that you feel that they're like three takeaways that they're going to get from it?
Well, it's unlike any other book. What happened was, as an agent and as somebody in entertainment business or show business, as we like to say, I was hit on all the time by friends for their children or other people, just almost every day. What advice do you have? And I looked for a book, and there's great books about acting and screenwriting and
Yeah.
directing and you editing, you name it. But there was no books about, okay, look, I have my degree from my college or graduate degree, or I'm stuck in my career. What can I do? What are there anything proactive I can do besides waiting for an agent or casting director to call? And I wanted to give them things they can do. And I also wanted to stress how important networking, or as we say in New York, schmoozing is. How
Yeah.
important to create a giant network, a big a network as you can, of quality professionals who you can help and they can help you.
Yeah.
So it was designed as something to help anybody, aspiring, working, and successful creative professionals, whether they're actors, directors, writers, producers, singers, comedians, artists, musicians, photographers, designers, you name it, how to get to the next step of their career without relying on agents, managers, or other gatekeepers. If they do something for you, great, it's a bonus. But
Yeah.
I never wanted people to rely on these representatives for their career. And that was the main reason I wrote it. I wrote it because there was no other books like it. It's all meat. There's no fluff. It's all bottom line stuff. There's no other
Yeah.
books like it. And I wanted people to have to read about I created a strategy, philosophy, and even vocabulary based on my time as an actor, as a agent at ICM, and as a independent filmmaker. I created my own strategy and philosophy vocabulary to convey what I think needs to be done to enhance people's careers and get
Yeah.
to the next level.
When you talk about agents and managers, do you think that their role has changed over the years? Like 30 years ago, do you think that they were more involved in actually creating careers and establishing careers, whereas now they basically want people that are established, that they don't have to work as hard? Or is
Yeah.
that a myth?
No, no, no. I mean, I'm generalizing. For the most part,
Yeah.
uh, when I was an agent, you were order makers. You'd sell. You'd reach out to people who can hire your clients and get them work, whatever they
Yeah.
may be. Whether I'm talking to publishing executives, or I'm talking to uh, uh, um, um, production executives or directors or whatever I'm talking, get them work. Now it's more of like an order taking.
Yeah.
They'll just take they'll take phone calls or text and evaluate whether the job is worthwhile creatively and financially. But it's really the number of agents and managers has reduced. It's become more elitist. They're really into the top 10%, people who are making 50 to 100 grand in commissions alone.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's difficult for the newest people, the new generation, if you will. I think the barriers to entry are as high as they have ever been.
And then,
Because that was kind of independence in a way, which are having severe financial problems, as you know.
yeah.
They were like a farm league, if you will, on their way to bigger films or studio films or TV shows. And now that farm league, well-known directors can't get their films made, so it's a difficult time.
Well, it's kind of like TV. I mean, they used to, how many pilots did companies used to order, the networks used to order? And they had the luxury of, I don't know if it was just a financial luxury of ordering several pilots to see what worked and what didn't work, as opposed to just signing something now and putting in for 10 episodes.
Yeah, there's so little green lighting. When they do green light, it's usually for 8 to 12 episode seasons. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of states get taxpayers' money. Um, and, a lot of these studios and production companies and networks get tax advantages. And I think they should be compelled to offer a certain number of opportunities for new people,
Yeah.
for people they may not know, you know, for just to help people get into the industry and improve the quality of some of the work, but giving people who are talented a chance. And that's not happening as much as it should, particularly with people under 40.
Well, it's shocking that in California and Los Angeles that the state has not done more to keep the industry here.
That's right. I mean, if you look at, for example, England, which is not doing that great right now, but better, there should have been a lot. It's a little, too late, in my humble opinion. I
I
mean,
agree, absolutely.
I think there should have been a lot of, you know, people. It's funny in terms of policy, whether it's about the entertainment industry or whatever. People only need, they were talking about socialized medicine, how difficult it is. Well, every industrialized Western nation has socialized medicine. You want a model, don't invent your own. Just go to Japan, Sweden, Canada, and pick
Yeah.
one. In the same way, the way the Europeans subsidize their artists, they subsidize their filmmakers. And the way things are financed in Europe, I think it's a great model for us. I think we should have we're the only country in the world that doesn't have co-productions. We don't have a
Well,
national or federal film commission to give incent to help filmmakers make films involving one or two or three countries that all put in money, which is the European model. So, for example, in London, there are funds for first-time filmmakers,
yeah.
and uh, if you're in Berlin, you can join up with Italy and Spain and do three or four co-productions, and you have the money, you have the budget. Here in America, we're stuck with what I could only call financial Darwinism. You know,
But why doesn't, forget about the government for a second. Apple sitting on hundreds of billions of dollars in cash, Microsoft, hundreds of billions of dollars cash. Why doesn't one of these companies put $1 billion aside for an arts fund? And why don't they have a farm league for new writers, directors, producers, authors, and whatnot?
there's some studio programs, they're very hard to get into. Yes, there needs to be a lot more of that. There needs to be a lot more of that. And, there needs to be more transparency. I think a
Yeah.
lot of financiers stopped investing in films because A, they didn't get their money back, and B, they have no idea how much they had no idea how much the film made. It's one of the craziest businesses in the world. You don't know how much your competitors have made in different films. You have no real idea. There's box office mojo and stuff, but it's not that accurate.
Right. Well, but also you're seeing superstar writers, producers. I mean, J.J. Abrams moving right now from L.A. to New York because they said just the amount of work there is to be done doesn't exist anymore. That even somebody like J.J. Abrams is having a problem. So if somebody comes to you, if they come to you at one of the workshops and say, Mr. Germanic, I wrote my first script and everybody tells me it's great. What do I do? What do you tell them?
Assemble a team. the most important thing. Assemble
Okay.
maybe a lawyer, if you have an agent or manager. Um, Try to connect to people who have been to the circus before. I'm often hired as an executive producer and many others who know what to do, know who to call. That the people have a lot of experience, have so much of an advantage. They can call the heads of film festivals, they can call distributors and get and agencies and get their phone calls returned. You need to have somebody on a general if it's that if the script is that good, you need to assemble a team of someone who has been there before, like an executive producer or a producer type, and then get it out to a casting director or actors and get some attachments. Because nowadays, whether it's film or TV, they want as attached a project as possible.
Right.
But if you have
Yeah.
the greatest script in the world, these TV executives, they're watching their back. They don't want to be fired, so they can't. If they greenlight a TV show and it fails, the boss, who is this guy? Why did you employ? Why did you? So they're very overly cautious now. Overly cautious. In the old days of Hollywood, in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, I don't have to tell you, these mavericks were not only business skilled, but they were creative. They really had a
Yes.
creative side to them. They could have directed or acted, or some of them. Nowadays, it seems they're much more cutthroat business, like cutthroat MBA. And it's not
Yeah.
a business. It's an illogical. As a business, it's very illogical in so many ways. It's not a normal business. And you really need to have a creative eye.
Well, God rest his soul, my buddy Troy DeVolt, who was a producer in unscripted for 15, 20 years, incredibly successful. Towards the end, he was having, I mean, this guy that did high level gigs, producing gigs on The Bachelor, The Osbournes, all these big shows, Dancing with the Stars. And he would tell me that these companies would get like a $4 million budget to shoot 8 episodes, 10 episodes of whatever the show was. Right off the bat, the owner of the company would take $1 million off for himself. And then instead of hiring people that were experienced and understood their jobs, they would hire friends, kids, families for half the price, 30% of the price. They didn't give a shit. And so the quality of the show suffered. And I think that's sort of happening in all aspects of the industry.
I think it's more difficult than ever before to get a job in the industry without knowing people. You have to kind of develop your network. That's why I emphasize in Beyond the Craft what you need to know in my book, the importance of networking, the importance
Yeah.
of creating a network, and the importance of indeed assembling a team. And the second thing I advise in my book is if you're creative, you're a director, a writer, learn how to produce. It's not rocket science. And believe me, you won't be the only producer. If you look at recent IMDb listings of cast and crews, you'll see 20, 30 producers of some type, executive, produced by,
Yeah.
co-producer. So you're not going to be the only one. And no one is totally prepared. I still have to ask when I'm making a film or whatever. I have to ask questions of people. Who's the best poster person? Whatever it is, I have to ask questions. So it's not like you're going to know everything. You're never totally prepared. It's like parenthood. You're never totally prepared. The same
Yeah.
thing with producing, but producing doesn't diminish you as a creative, and it can only enhance the chances you'll succeed. So learn it,
Yeah.
find a good property. I think in many ways I have a lot of international friends who live in America, and they have an advantage. First of all, they can shoot things in their home countries and get all these different co-productions and different sources of funding. Second of all, they can scour, I don't know, novels from the 50s or 60s or whatever, and find some amazing project and
Yeah.
maybe remake it in English or whatever. So it's about finding a great, reading hundreds of scripts and reading novels and what have you, or historical events, and coming up with a great idea.
Well, how important is it that well, I think it's incredibly important to be sort of self-sufficient. I was just reading this article yesterday about two horror filmmakers that couldn't sell their film to anybody. So they went out and rented the theaters themselves, and they made back a ridiculous return on their investment within a matter of months, because they were told no by everybody. So they just went out and did it themselves.
That I love those stories. I love those
Yeah,
stories because it's about creating your own path, and it may not be based on other people's paths before you. The industry is constantly in flux.
yeah,
Unfortunately, it bores me to death, but I do admire great distributors, and unfortunately, all independent filmmakers have to start learning more about distribution.
yeah,
When I do these workshops, I do these talks all over the world. Uh, I go into it to some extent, and then there are some real experts at it who do free workshops. They're
yeah,
out there on the web, free workshops about do-it-yourself distribution. You can hire a booker, you can hire a person who
yeah,
specializes in a certain area, promoting let's say you did a film about mental illness, like my film M. You can promote that film in just the areas of that people who are interested in that subject would go to,
yeah.
appeal to them. So there's a lot of things to know about, and it's incumbent upon certainly beginning filmmakers and independent filmmakers to learn about do-it-yourself distribution. A lot of people are advising in this day and age. A lot of people are advising 30 to 50% of your budget should be reserved for marketing and promotion.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so you're not in a situation where, oh, we got into Berlin, the Berlinale, but we don't have any money to go there. You don't want you
yeah.
you really want to have some money in the budget for promotion and marketing.
Well, and I think one thing that I see with a lot of people is that they don't do their homework. They don't know who the players are. They don't know who the companies are. They don't sort of learn how the process works. They think, well, if I just write a great script, someone's going to see it. It doesn't work that way.
No, you got to push it up the hill for a long
Yeah.
time. And again, assembling a team, people who are experienced, who have an idea of what to do when you hit a brick. Instead of getting, as my father used to say, instead of getting your forehead bloody by hitting it, find a way around it. And you got in this business, it's not about analyzing problems. It's about problem solving. How do I solve that problem to get around that brick wall? How do I solve it? And so you
So
want
if
on your team who know how to solve problems quickly, not just analyze them or voice them.
here's my problem. I'm a screenwriter in Bismarck, and I think I've written a great script. I have no idea what to do, and I'm stuck in fucking Bismarck. What do I do?
Bismarck, North Dakota.
Yeah.
First thing I would do is find out anybody from North Dakota who's in the entertainment business. Just that small commonality alone, that
Ah,
small
yeah.
commonality, chances are they'll speak to you for 15 minutes. If you
Yes.
don't quit, don't let pride or ego get in the way, and you keep on pursuing them. Hey, I really need to just talk to you for 15 minutes, any place, anywhere you want, anytime. They'll talk to you. You got to create your own mentors in this business. You got to find people who will help you based on some small strand of who you are. What state are you in? Where'd you go to camp? Junior high school, college, whatever it is. Find some commonality and do an informational interview and ask people for help. That's one thing. Uh, um, Traveling to LA or New York or Toronto or London, wherever you happen to be living, once in a while is worthwhile, even if it's just for 3 or 4 meetings. When I started in entertainment, maybe I did two full days of meetings, and then it went up to 4 or 5 or 6 or 7. But you got to go to these places eventually. You have to go there and try to meet a few people, try to arrange an itinerary. It's about itinerizing. Go to a major film festival, a major one where the distributors are, where the finance are,
Yeah.
and attend it for a few days. You'll run into a lot of people. It's about collecting business cards and following up. So many people collect the business cards, collect the content details, and don't follow up. So it's about
Yeah.
following up, attending major film festivals, going to New York or LA once in a while.
I love that advice of finding, like if you're in Bismarck, finding somebody in the entertainment business as close as it can be in that
Yeah,
city and getting
let's
to them.
go with that for a second. Let's say you went to University of North Dakota.
Yeah.
Get the alumni director who's in the entertainment business
I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
and reach out to them. You think they weren't helped when they're on their way up? That's what you're appealing to. They were helped, believe me. You could, and they can give back.
And people are should be would be shocked if they knew if you're polite and you're direct and you're professional, people will respond to it. People, like you said, they'll take the time to talk to you.
They will if you do it the right way. Most will. I would say when I was pursuing informational interviews, I would say 80% of them. I may have had a call 4 or 5 times. In this
Yeah.
context, probably text or I mean email. But I would say 80% said yes. So I quit ICM and I went to LA, and I'll never forget. I met with David Kelly, Norman Lear,
Wow.
and who did Hill Street Blues? Steve
Uh, Steve Bochco.
Steve Bochco. They all met with me for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So the good ones give back. And
But
they're
it's
all very nice to me. I stupidly, I should have written a pilot and get it out to them, but I went in a different direction.
but I've had this where I've had major people in the industry, and I've said you've always been very nice to me, and that said the response I always get is because you've always been nice to us. You've always approached us nicely. You've never been too pushy or you haven't been obnoxious. But I know sometimes you have to you talk about this that sometimes proper goes out the window. What's that dividing line that you can sort of push the boundaries of obnoxiousness without going over it?
You have to, you got to try 4 or 5 times and then stop it. Don't stop.
Yeah.
Don't stop. You got to just know basic. It's kind of business etiquette, I guess. You try. You maybe call them a couple of times. You try. You email them. You've tried 4 or 5 times. No response. Move on. But there are people that will respond.
But I think that also
Okay.
comes from
But
what
one
you
of the main ingredients for success is optimism. You got to be
yeah,
optimistic. Yes, it's a crazy world we happen to be in right now. I know that. And
yeah,
yes, the industry has contracted big time, but people are still selling scripts. They're still getting things made, and they're unknowns. It's happening right now. So is it hard? It is hard, but
yeah.
you got to be pushy and keep on expanding your network.
Yeah, I think expanding the network is a big thing because I think the more people you talk to, the more you understand what those boundaries are and how far you can push them.
Exactly. And maybe find colleagues. I mean, almost all my projects, I have colleagues. I often partner with a 5-time Emmy Award winner named Eddie Feldman, who's just a great guy and an old friend, and we partner on a lot of TV projects. I like working with friends at this stage of my life.
Yeah,
I like working with friends. Like you gotta, but find colleagues that you can, if you're a director, find a producer. If you're a producer, find a business partner. You know,
yeah.
if you're an actor, find a producer, or director. Find colleagues that you can work with, and this way, they may have the answers that you don't.
And what do you find is the biggest way that people tend to self-sabotage themselves or their careers?
By not networking enough,
Yeah,
by not putting them in situations. It's great that you're in your office writing a brilliant screenplays. You got to get out of the office and meet people who had the same goals as you or in the same industry as you. You
yeah,
have to make an effort. I usually tell people start on an hour or two a week, Thursday at 10 a.m. All I'm doing is networking. Have great social media um, um, profiles, very important, Instagram, LinkedIn. Um, you can meet people this way. You can at least Zoom with them. Uh,
yeah,
Follow up. So many people, they'll go to one of these festivals and they'll get this stack of cards like this. They'll get a
yeah,
stack and they'll never follow up. They'll
yeah,
never they meet people can make their dreams come true. They'll never follow up. Follow up is everything.
yeah.
Um, Making it maybe starting a website for your project, just promoting your project now that the script is done or whatever. or now that you just finished a film as an actor, whatever it is, promoting the project somehow, getting that
Yeah.
across to people that you have a project, and to people who can help you, who, you know, stratify your head off. Stratify. If you got a script for $3 million horror film, or $1 million horror film, you don't go to producers who make $80 million sci-fi films. They're never
Yeah.
going to help you unless you're related to them or have a romance with them. They're never, ever going to help you. You have to stratify who's in your genre, who's in your budget range that are financing or producing the kind of projects you wrote.
Well,
And
and that, I
in
don't
other
know if
words,
you,
I like lists. I like lists. I make lists all the time for
what
various,
kind of lists?
just, I'm a little ADD. I have to make lists. I make lists for each project, just list who would be right for this, who are potential producers, whatever. And that's research. And you
Yeah.
got IMDb Pro, which is like $10 a month. Now you have, when I first started, there was no directories. I literally would go to the Library of Performing Arts in New York City, copying like these expensive directories.
Yeah.
Nowadays, you have it all on an AI and the web. You can find the right people for you. You got to reach, but you can't find them. You can't go fishing if you don't have bait. You can't find them without a great script and the research involved in finding them and making a list and then sending out query letters, or better yet, talking to people.
So if somebody feels stuck right now, what's the advice you would give them to do over the next 24 hours? How can they make a change?
Wow, that's a difficult question, not knowing specific circumstances that surround them. Let's say you're a screenwriter. Number one, make sure that script is ready to go, ready to be seen. Or do you need to do another draft? Number two, are you meeting enough people who I call in the book primary contacts? Those are agents, managers, although it's hard to get them now, producers, directors, financiers. Agents, managers, producers, directors, finance, as in those who can represent you, hire you, or invest in you.
Yeah.
See if you can make any primary contacts this week via LinkedIn,
Ah,
via
I
Instagram,
like that.
via some meetup.
Yeah.
There's meetups. There's creative meetups all over the world.
Yeah.
Some function where you can meet people. Don't avoid those functions. Those functions are important to you. You don't have to go every night. Some people like, I don't have to tell you in LA, there's some people who have
Yeah.
transformed their entire lives, their weekends, their nights into networking excursion. You don't have to do that. But
Yeah.
once in a while, you got to intentionally expand your opportunities, and you do that by expanding your network.
I love that. I love that. Jim, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for people to reach you?
Um, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. My email is getreal, GETREEL at gmail.com. Or via you. God.
Abs- Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, Jim,
I do a few things. I do, entertainment career coaching. Once in a while, I have a lot of clients for that. I do script analyses and I do rewrites.
yeah,
And yeah, I do a few different things. But
that's awesome.
right now, I'm trying to write the script.
And the book is Beyond the Craft,
But you need
available
to go
anywhere, Amazon, wherever you can
on
buy
Barnes
books.
and Noble, wherever you can buy books.
And Jim, I've known you for a long time. I've always been amazed. First of all, I'm amazed at your energy and your intensity, and I fucking love it. And you've got so much valuable information and advice to give to people. And I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today.
My pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Derek.
All right. For the Pulse of Story podcast, I'm Derek Christopher. This is Jim Jermanok, and we will see you next time. Take care.